Romans founded London, but in actual fact it was founded by someone called Brutus of Troy, and we spent a lot of time investigating that. Now, one of the things is, historians will tell you from canon law that the Romans founded London, and they will spend a lot of time telling you that the sources are classical history, and that's very respectable, but our own history in Britain, the Welsh myths, etc., are rubbish, they're nonsense, they're repeated lies and all sorts of things. But we spent a lot of time, and we came across a very interesting man. He was the discoverer of helium, and this is where we started to take back the science and throw it back onto historians. And I had terrible arguments with a historian in Tottenham Court Road for about 2 years, and we battled it out. And he finally said, "You've got something here," and to get that from a historian is quite something. And what we sort of focused on in one part of the book, which I think is original, and I don't think you'll find it in many places, was the work of Thomas Lockyer. And he was the very first person to go to Stonehenge and notice that it was aligned to the planets and the stars. Now, we looked at this and we found that we weren't, as I say, weren't alone. A lot of people in the elite also have had this knowledge for many years, and you will notice that you probably don't know, because we didn't know our own history, and we were looking at this. All of the great and the good, the people who are the sons and daughters of the empire, Florence Nightingale, Winston Churchill, other people, were buried in a secret crypt called St Faith's Chapel, which is under St Paul's Cathedral, and this is a very, very ornate place. You know, the tombs are made out of fantastic marble and gilded carvings, etc. And that is the very spot where Brutus founded his Temple of Diana. And of course this is all folklore, so we're bringing this, whoever was constructing the city, Wren, for example, and Hawksmoor with the king's money, did so under the auspices of proving that Brutus of Troy had been there. And you notice that a lot of their work, the Guildhall, was still used by the livery companies, and the mansion house is also founded on a druidic site. So we carried on looking into this, and we found more and more connections with Troy, ancient games that were called the Troy Games. Himself is 16th in line to Brutus, and that's where all of your laws come to. And they were laws of the highway, to protect pilgrims from one sacred place to another. So all of your law comes from.
I have a question. You were talking about the committee of 300 people who control the world.
That's
Are they
right.
involved in what's happening in the Middle East now?
They would appear to be so. There's several different definitions of the Committee of 300, and it would appear that quite possibly they and the Illuminati and the global elite are all one and the same person, or one and the same group of people rather. So I mean, it's very difficult because there's only one source for the Committee of 300, and that's Dr. John Coleman, who claims to be a former MI6 officer. But in the historical accounts, the Committee of 300 is actually based on the British East India Company, which involved, again, this mixture of aristocracy and corporate business people. They had a shareholder committee of 300 people back in the, I think it was the 16th century, 17th century, somewhere around then. So it is actually based, it may be a symbolical name, they may not be actually 300 people. It may be just be used as that name because it's based on the old British East India Company. They are, again, various. I mean, I was speaking to Ian R. Crane about this the other day. I was fortunate enough, I'm sure quite a few of you are aware of the fact that he does a lot of speaking on this subject around the country, and he's been heavily involved with Edge Media. The name of a committee of 12 men of the City Corporation who are known by this name, and they control and preside over all the wealth of the Crown lands and companies, and they're also known as the Crown Temple, which administers the global legal system, which I think I mentioned a little earlier. Most people, of course, think of the Crown immediately as the Queen, but our current reigning monarch is also head of some interesting and somewhat secretive orders, and one of these is the outwardly Christian, most noble order of the Garter, which inwardly has much more pagan connotations within its roots, as does its venue of the ceremonial investiture, St George's Chapel, Windsor. because the whole building contains an intricate arrangement of circular geometrical configurations that go to define the Virgin Mary, or specifically her genitalia. But it is in fact this aspect of the goddess cult that can be traced back to pagan times and the old religion. So the Order of the Garter is connected to the old religion in a number of ways, which are listed in the book, but its real guise is as an Angevin Elven bloodline institution, which continued in the form of the Plantagenet kings of England. Edward III, of course, a Plantagenet king, he founded the Order of the Garter. But we get into a different area here because in modern, or the more modernistic sense, former MI6 operative John Coleman maintains that the Order of the Garter has a secret function in overseeing a mysterious group called the Committee of 300, which Coleman says has existed for 150 years, implementing its agenda through front organisations such as the Royal Institute for International Affairs, which of course the Queen is patron of,